Tribe did such a good job on that intro. He really did. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Tribe made the intro song for Pater, and we had to deliberate over which song we wanted to choose. And the intro video was actually made by Cookies, who's a good friend of Pater. Anyway, nobody fucking cares. What's up, guys? My name is James. I'm the owner of PaterDFS.com. I'm joined today by Mr. David Hess, longtime Pater contributor and coach. For when we had the coaching program set up, which, man, I really do miss doing the coaching, but I just do not have the fucking time or capacity anymore. But maybe we'll bring it back. To Mr. Sikhemi's point here. Where's frickin' Pablo? He's out on his fucking boat, man. I don't know where he is. He's out on his boat. I'm sure that he'll be back and he'll join us in like 20 minutes, I'm gonna guess, unless he did say that the wife might be making him do other things that are not this show. But we'll see how it goes one way or another. If you have not checked out a Slate Talk before, Slate Talks are a little bit different. They are mostly based around leverage concepts and in general, just kind of like higher level thoughts on how do we actually build for tournaments rather than who are we going to pick. That being said, we are going to run through the slate as well. If you want kind of a more in-depth run through of the slate, then you can go check out the bakery, which was done by Tribe and Jason yesterday. I'll grab that link and put it in the comments here. Bakery, and then I typed that incorrectly, but that's okay. You can go check out that link. That's a full breakdown for Tribe and Jason yesterday, going over the slate using the models. We are going to go through the models to start because I have not looked at this slate yet. Some people like to look at a slate on Tuesday. I like to look at a slate Saturday night because I'm not trying to get anchored on anything. Anyway, I've been babbling. Mr. Hess, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I went to go see a movie with my family before this. Andy, to your point, how was the movie? It was fucking great, dude. It was so good. I went to go see Bad Guys 2, which I'm a parent. I got a 4-year-old kid, and he loved the first Bad Guys movie, and I'm using that as a justification to go see this. But I also loved the first Bad Guys movie because it was really good. Second one blew it out of the water. Just terrific. So good. Everybody go see it. Hess, you said that you liked the first one. I seriously think that you should go see the second one.
Yeah, you're selling me on it.
Yeah, go see it in theaters because it is a theatrical journey. It's seriously insane. They went above and beyond. But anyway, I'm good. I'm ready to break into kind of the slate and talk about the slate. So for those of you who have not played NFL DFS week 1, let me just say this just up front. Nobody fucking knows anything. Anybody who is saying anything definitive of being like, oh, I am absolutely sure this is going to happen. No, they're not. Or maybe they think that they're sure of it, but it's just bias and they don't really know anything. We don't know what is going to happen in these games. We have a decent idea of who has been participating in what degree or whatever. But when it comes to, we think that X, Y, or Z wide receiver is going to win the wide receiver 2 space, everybody's guessing. When it comes to, we think that X, Y, or Z running back is going to have this role, we don't know, man. Every single year we run into this stuff. So what I would say is week 1, if there is ever a week to be skeptical of ownership on players, this is the week to do it. Specifically, be skeptical of ownership around wide receiver 2s. Specifically, be skeptical of chalk on perceived bad teams, right? I know there's some chalk on some bad teams this week. And 3, be skeptical of workloads around running backs that have not had the role before. So, it was fair to be yesterday, for instance, I was heavier on Najee Harris than I was on Omarion Hampton. Now, that wasn't because I thought that Najee Harris would be a better play. It was simply that he was way cheaper. He was way lower owned, and Omarion Hampton is a rookie. And, we don't know that he is going to be the guy, right? So situations like that, I think that it's important to be understanding that nobody really knows what's going on. So heavy ownership, a little bit shakier. Hess, do you have any other kind of like high level things for week one?
No, I will say though, I think like the concentrated chalk on the slate's kind of insane. It's like as you were talking about all of that, I was just like thinking, like, I know you said you haven't looked at it yet, but like the Cleveland chalk is like absolute insanity.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I have not anything yet. So
yeah, well, everyone's playing Joe Flacco this week.
no, terrific. Yeah, bending over backwards, play Joe Flacco. That's just some terrific stuff. Okay. Yeah, well, with that, let's kind of go through the positions and go high level down really quick. We'll try to save a little bit of the strategy and concept talk for a little bit later once Mr. Pablo gets here, if he's going to get here. Who the fuck knows? I suppose should I go check and see if he's responded? He probably hasn't, right? No, he's still out on that goddamn boat. This fucking guy. It's like it's 7:16 here. It's 8:16 out in Florida where he lives. Like, what are we doing here? All right. Let's see. Let's check comments here really quick. Just make sure. Definitely has pontoon boat. He has a nice boat, actually. Pretty nice boat. Heard dudes with glasses fornicate and win GBPs. Yeah. I hope to do both of those things. I hope that Hess also has those in the plans. I would like to know a few thoughts on topics. 2 tight end lineups, no bring back lineups. Do you X out games? Okay, cool. Well, just from a high level on that last one, because I can talk about those things before we get into the slate. I basically think that 2 tight end lineups are fine if you have if you have a stud tight end and a cheap tight end. The reason being that a stud tight end can and usually does project as a better value than running backs and wide receivers in their same price range. So it's kind of like the same thing as playing a running back or a wide receiver. I don't really mind that. So in that case, what you would do is you would be treating your expensive stud tight end as, your flex for running backs or wide receivers or whatever. And then your cheap tight end would just be a cheap tight end. For no bringbacks, I don't fucking care about bringbacks. I know it's going to be a hot button thing this year, I think, because everyone is just pounding their fists on the table saying overstack and game stack and bringbacks and max correlations. And I'm just like, I don't even think that I care about stacking that much this year. So, I think that, I will have a much different stance this year than I think the majority of the industry, and I'm willing to kind of play that out. And then, do I X out games? No, not really. Sometimes it depends. Like, if there's a game that I think brings no value, I'm fine with Xing it out, but that's kind of few and far between. A lot of the time, there's going to be something to deal with in that game. Like there will be someone or something that is worth having in a game, whether it be a mid-range running back or a cheaper wide receiver or a tight end, unless there's severely bad weather and it's 2 bad teams and the total's like 35 or some shit, I'm probably just going to keep it in my pool, but I will not be forcing any of those things. Hess, do you have any thoughts on all 3 of those questions?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, 2 tight ends, I never play them. I'm not saying I'm right, by the way. I think like your explanation was way better. I just like it's like one of those things that people caught on to it later, and it's like one of those things I just never went back to fix. But I'll probably have to look at that this year because like as you explained it, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah.
But no bringbacks, that's huge. I mean, even like there's an example this week where we'll get into it in a little bit more so, but everyone's talking about the Tampa Bay Falcons game. I think you can not play bringbacks. I think that's probably totally okay. I think it really depends on like game environment, a lot of stuff, and but mostly the way that I look at slates, and why I'm actually kind of excited to be here is like I'm a big game theory guy. A lot of you guys are like stats and numbers, and like a lot of that makes sense in what I do, and it's a part of it. But like I prefer mostly to focus on like builds and roster construction and how that pushes against everything. And so like there's absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do if it makes sense and gives me an advantage, whether that's no bringbacks, Xing out games. It really just kind of goes into everything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to bringbacks, it's just the correlation on quarterback to wide receiver is something like 40%. Oh, by the way, I didn't say this, but I painted my nails hot pink for week 1, just because I'm in solidarity with Caleb Williams. I'm not saying I want to play Caleb Williams or anything, but hot pink. I don't usually do pink. Usually I do gold or green, but I decided to bust out the real vibrant shit for week 1. I just, when it comes to bringbacks, there's like a 40% correlation between a quarterback and the wide receiver 1. And then after that, it drops down in the mid-20s for quarterback and wide receiver 2. And then it's like low 20s to high teens for quarterback and tight end, right? And then after that, like the correlations drop down into like the 10% range or something like that. So for every fantasy point that your quarterback gets, you're getting like a 0.1 fantasy point or even less than that for an opposing wide receiver. And what it just comes down to is I just don't think that the correlation really matters all that much to where I would be forcing something like that over just like a better play at the same price. So let's consider, and like we can talk through the math on this for a second. Say that you have a quarterback, wide receiver combo. Say a Cincinnati stack, right? Because Cincinnati's playing Cleveland. And say that you have you have 2 wide receivers, wide receiver A and wide receiver B. And wide receiver B is on Cleveland, wide receiver A is not, right? And they both project for 10 fantasy points. In this example, it would make sense to play player B over player A. Assuming we're not even considering ownership in this example, but if we assume that all other things equal, you would play player B in this example because based on the correlation, they would project for 10.1 fantasy points with the added correlation boost, right? So you get that extra 0.1. Like there's not really any reason not to play that for the extra correlation. But if player A projects for 10.5 fantasy points and player B on the bringback projects for 10 fantasy points, you now don't have a reason to play the bringback. You just don't. Like all you're doing is just trying to say, oh, well, I have this heuristic in my mind that is this old adage of, oh, a team playing from behind is going to be passing more. Well, like, yeah, okay, well, they're going to be passing more, but also they're less efficient passes. And like, it's just not as good of a position as people want it to be. Otherwise, they would project better, right? Because if you think the projection sets in 2025 are not taking into account like the team is going to be passing more when playing from behind, then it's baked into the projections, right? So the only thing that might not be baked in is the correlation aspect, and that at that point you're getting 0.1 fantasy points for that, right? It's not that much. So from a mathematical standpoint, it doesn't make sense to give up the extra fantasy points for a similar play at a similar price point at similar ownership, even removing from the fact that it's probably better ownership, right? Because people want to do bringbacks. So in this case, player B probably has more ownership than player A. And then at that point, like it tips the scales even farther towards player A. So from a mathematical and from a game theory standpoint, bringbacks don't make much sense unless the bringback projects better, in which case you would play them even if they weren't the bringback, right? Like you would just play the better value between player A and player B, even if they weren't the bringback. So the forced bringbacks thing, I think, is while there was probably some edge to it like 3 years ago, I think it's probably swung the other direction. And I'm not as interested in game stacks and bringbacks this year as I may have been in years past. So there you go. Any thoughts on that one, Hess?
I think the biggest thing for me, it's like when we talk about more expensive players and like what they need to hit a ceiling. That's like kind of when I start to think about like a little bit more bringbacks. It's
Sure.
like something I did this week is like I wouldn't play Jamar Chase without a Cleveland player because it like his insane price tag for him to hit like 40 points. It's probably because they're still throwing in the fourth quarter. To me, that's like kind of how I feel about it. It's like it's more so of like when does it make sense and what would you need for someone to hit a ceiling? When you talk about like 2 5K players, like it probably doesn't matter, right? It's like pick the player that's going to score the most points. It probably doesn't matter about something like that. I tend to think more about it when it's like a really, really expensive player or 2 expensive players on back-to-back teams or something like that. That's when it like to me starts to make more of a difference of like how you craft a roster. I think like outside of that, it probably matters a lot less than a lot of people think that it does. because like it doesn't change based on like the salary and the construction of the roster.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point on the expensive stuff, that's something we talk about with NBA. And Jeremy, JQ King, shout out the Tilt Report. He is really big on correlation in NBA, and not correlation between players, but correlation within the game environment, right? If you have Giannis and you're hoping that he hits the ceiling, you really need that fourth quarter. You really need that final shift in the fourth quarter. And ideally you get overtime, right? If you're paying that much for Giannis, then overtime is huge against the other studs. So he's big on, okay, well, if Giannis is going to hit his ceiling, then it's a competitive game all the way up to the end of the game, and you have the overtime upside. So in that case, it's very likely that the other team also has players that pushed him towards that ceiling. The thing with NFL, and the reason why I hear your point, and I think that I agree with it in terms of like too expensive players. But when it comes to that kind of same thought being applied to NFL, it's so much of that is taken into account in the game total that, again, there's so much of it already in the projections. If you were going to play two expensive players, you'd probably just play two expensive players. If it's a bring back situation, like if we're looking at, I don't know, I'm trying to look through the games that we have. Rams, Houston, right? Like if you have Puka and you have Nico on the other side, and those guys project well, I think that it's fine to play them as a like mini correlation, but that is not like that's I shouldn't even say mini correlation there, right? Because it's a mini game stack hoping that game has a lot of fantasy goodness and that those guys end up being the main beneficiaries. But realistically, that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they are in a game against each other. Mostly it just has to do with the fact that they're both mid 7K and they project well. And they're target hogs. Like you could also make the same argument that you would want to play in that instance. You know, I can't find anybody who is kind of in that same price range as those guys. But if there was another wide receiver in that price range, like you would probably still be inclined to play them. So I think that there is merit at times to saying I want to target this game environment because it's good, say in a dome, say good weather, or where there are other bad weather like spots on the slate, stuff like that, where you're saying I want to target this game environment. I think that's fine. But I think that it does not necessitate the idea of a bring back or a game stack outside of that.
I think somewhere that it makes sense, I guess, is like someone Washington today. Someone asked, like, why are we considering Washington? It's like, well, Jaden Daniels is 8K. Yeah. So like if Jaden Daniels gets you 23 points at 8K and someone at 5K gets 23 points, it's like kind of cooked. Mm-hmm. And so like I guess like that's kind of like what I'm looking at. It's like if you're playing Jaden Daniels, it's because you think that the Giants are going to push this into a game. And so like that's I guess kind of more of what I'm talking about. It's like depending on how expensive players are and the threshold you think you can hit their ceilings, it's not that they can't. Right? It's like could Jamar Chase house 2 80-yard touchdowns, and it doesn't even matter. Absolutely, 100%. Mm-hmm. It's just like when you start thinking about like these really expensive stacks, especially like if a quarterback's expensive and his pass catcher's expensive, and and you're using up like 30-40% of your salary on this. It's like, what are the chances of what needs to happen for these three guys that are all like 22K total to actually get you a GPP winning score? That's kind of I guess more so of like what I meant.
No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, that is exactly what Jeremy thinks in NBA. And it's plenty viable. Speaking of that Washington New York Giants game, I suppose we should jump into the models here and talk a little bit about what the models are showing. So I did pull up the models here, and we can do a little chatting. Pablo just let me know he's toast. He just got back. He's not home yet. He said, do not recommend driving your boat back after sunset for the first time after the marina closes. Yeah, probably a fucking rookie move there, bud. Rookie move there, bud, with your boat. Let's see. Just need to get different elsewhere with game stacks and with bringbacks. Yeah, I mean, but even then, like, I don't even think I'm not going to spend too much time on this.
I did talk about Baker +2 in London.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's probably good. Let's jump into the models. Yeah, jump into the models. Okay, so We are going to look at things position by position. So if you have not used the PayDirt models since I have given them an upgrade and optimizations and new coat of paint, in order to look at the quarterback specific things to now, you just go to quarterback and you select it here. So let's take a look at these things. So Jaden Daniels all the way at the top. As usual, like ownership is pretty spread out. I think that we're probably going to have decent ownership on a whole bunch of guys. Like Joe Flacco is probably going to be more like 10% owned. We're going to need a run tomorrow for sure. Jaden Daniels, he's going to be probably the highest owned quarterback, but I'm not sure. I think that Joe Burrow is probably going to be up there. People are playing $5,300 Trevor Lawrence. I guess that's fine. I fucking hate Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that he's good, so I'm not really super gung-ho on that. But overall, Jaden Daniels projects for the most fantasy points on the slate, 22.5. Then followed by Burrow, Nix, Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Drake May. We don't have any of like the real notable studs here. We don't have Lamar. We don't have Josh Allen. Obviously, we don't have Jalen Hurts. So this is kind of a more, boilerplate type of slate that we have, I guess, where it's more of the actual passing QBs. We don't have many of like the cheat code quarterbacks. So that makes it much more of a boilerplate kind of slate. Really surprising to see that Justin Fields is coming in at like 1% owned. I unfortunately have some interest in Bryce Young at 5,700 if he's going to be 2% owned. And I fucking hate Bryce Young. But what I will say is, he's had another year where he gets to practice. And he's had another year where hopefully he can build on the success that he had at the end of last year. And like I said at the beginning of this, nobody fucking knows anything. I'm not going to let what I looked at and what I watched last year dictate the way that I play a week one slate. So I think that Bryce Young at 5,700 is decently interesting. Outside of that, I mean, there's not too much to glean here. I don't think is there anything that pops off the page for you, Hess?
No, I mean, this will say, I thought about Justin Fields for like 3 seconds earlier. I was like looking at everything and I was like, just running a naked quarterback makes sense at all. So it's, I really didn't look at the models. I've actually gotten to a point where I try not to look at them until Sunday morning. Just because, like I said, I try to like craft everything through theory and everything. Jaden Daniels up there is awesome. I mean, I'm a Washington fan. I really hadn't considered it all week because of the things I talked about. Seeing him that high on the board, though, I think that's really interesting. It's also interesting he's 13%, though, because I feel like no one's talked about it all week. It felt like it should be something that's sneaky, but instead it's like kind of obvious.
Yeah, he's going to project really high everywhere. What's he projected over at the old Roto Grinders? Yeah, I project for 23 over at Roto Grinders. Him and Joe Burrow are by far the highest projection over on Roto Grinders. I don't know off the top of my head what he is over at ETR or any of the other places, but he's just going to project really, really well. And the reason why he's still going to get ownership is because 7K is not that big of a price. If he was 8K, like you had said, yeah, he would be lower owned because it would be such a jump that people would just play Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow would end up being higher owned. Now, I think that Joe Burrow is probably going to be higher owned anyway because people have interest in that Cincinnati Cleveland game. But Jaden Daniels, I mean, at 7K, it's going to be hard to overlook him. I've been listening to podcasts all week and still nobody has listed who I'm playing in the million tomorrow. Well, fucking Godspeed, bud. Godspeed. Hopefully you win it. Sims are overwhelmingly pro Lawrence. Yeah, I just fucking hate the guy. I get it. 5,300. He projects for 18. He's got high ownership, so he's going to show up in Sims. Like, I get it. And I very likely will have some, but I haven't opened up the portfolio manager yet to see like what I end up getting on him. I'm sure that I probably have quite a bit because the optimals probably like him and the contest Sims probably like him. And I'm probably just going to have to play him. But at the same time, like, there's going to be a lot of lineups, I think, where I have Trevor Lawrence and I'm looking at them. I'm just going to be like, why would I not just play Justin Fields here? Because I don't really care that much. If I have, say, a Trevor Lawrence with like, I guess we can go over and look at this, right? Let's go over and look at the optimals really quick. So this lineup, I literally, like, in this lineup, I literally just have Trevor Lawrence with no wide receiver, right? So in this one, why would I not just go Justin Fields? You know, like, I'm not going to play a naked Trevor Lawrence, so I'll play a naked Justin Fields. I'll play a naked Bo Nix. I'm not going to play a naked Trevor Lawrence. So I think that it's very likely that, even when I run through things tomorrow and try to figure out the best way to go about quarterback and where my stacks are, like, will I have Trevor Lawrence to some degree? Yeah. I'm almost positive I'll have some Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think that I'm going to have as much as the contest sims and the optimals want me to have.
If he wins you the millie, you'd have to like him now, right?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if he wins me both of the millies, then I have to love him. Which would be a hilarious outcome if I talk all this shit on Trevor Lawrence and then he ends up winning me everything tomorrow. T-Law is only good in a game stack. He's only good if you have him with, Trevor Lawrence. Now, and this is one of those things. I've been talking a lot about how I just don't think that I care all that much about designating stacks per QB and wide receiver this year, which is another thing that we'll talk about a little bit later. But as it goes with those things, like, Trevor Lawrence is one of those QBs where I absolutely, if I have him in a lineup, like, I'm not going to play him without Trevor Lawrence and BTJ. I'm not going to play him without, like, a double stack, because there's zero chance that Trevor Lawrence is going to be, well, not zero, obviously, but it's a really low chance that Trevor Lawrence ends up winning me something with only a single stack. So he's one of those quarterbacks where I am going to force a double stack. He is somebody who I think it's necessary to have both of them. Bryce Young is another one. Like, he's a pocket passer. The only way that he gets there is by throwing for 3 touchdowns. Jared Goff, only way he gets there is by throwing for 3 touchdowns. So with guys like that, I'm going to force a double stack there. And there's ways to do that in Portfolio Manager, so I'm not worried about it. But, like, as I'm speaking to not worrying as much about stacking my quarterback with wide receivers, that is something where it is absolutely situational per the quarterback that I'm using. So 5,300, I get it. Is there any other call outs you want to make for quarterbacks, or do we move on?
I'll just say that I'm sad to see CJ Stroud so low on this list. He's, like, almost borderline, not even on the page.
Yeah, he's down there. He's somebody that you could have interest in him. We've seen him be crazy, right? Like, we've seen him he broke the rookie passing record, right? Like, he has upside, and he has Nico, and, like, that's a game where it certainly could be fireworks.
It's a game I like a lot this week.
Yeah. You have plays on the other side that you can make that make a lot of sense. So I don't mind CJ Stroud. Like I said at the beginning of this, no, we don't fucking know anything this week. So if you want to make a play on CJ Stroud, if you want to play a Sam Darnold, if you want to play any of these guys who are cheap, the only one that you don't play is Aaron Rodgers because he fucking sucks. But, like, anyone that you want to play that's low owned, like, there's reason to play Russell Wilson. There's reason to play Geno Smith. There's plenty of reasons to play most of these guys. Cam Ward, he's 5K. He projects okay. Like, whatever. If you think they're going to do good, I'm not going to fight you on that. All that I would say is, like, you need to think through the reason why you are going to play someone, especially this week. Like, you got to have a reason for why you're playing them. For CJ Stroud, I think there's a very good argument to be made that at 6K and 1% owned, he's a terrific play overall in large field GPPs, especially because of the way that you can game stack with him. And, like, we'll get to the hand builder here in a little while, but just feels like something where you can absolutely make arguments for him. Let's look at running backs. All right. So I'm actually going to start with running backs sorting by ownership here. Just because I want to get a feel for that. So people are wanting to play Chase Brown. Okay, fine. 6,600. I get it. James Conner. So people are finally going to play James Conner this year?
Seems like it.
Like, finally, after 3 years of him being super consistent. Devon Kane, however the fuck you pronounce his name, I don't care. 6,900. That's a steep price tag for an offense that we're not sure is going to be good. Jonathan Taylor on the other side of that, 6,800. I think that's a little bit better. And then we kind of get into these secondary plays: Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey probably is not going to play, right? Like this entire fucking year. He's not going to play. He's going to have this phantom calf injury until that they're just like, oh, yeah, by the way, his leg got amputated on 4th of July. And we're like, oh, you could have fucking told us that. I fucking hate the 49ers so much. Outside of that, $4,800 Austin Eckler is kind of interesting. I don't know what they're going to do with their running back situation, though. You're a Washington super fan. What do you think they're doing with Washington?
I think they all three play. It makes them all useless.
That's a very fair point.
They talked about like Chris Rodriguez playing goal line, Eckler playing passing downs, and Bill playing between the 20s. Makes them all garbage.
Man, that's terrible. That's okay. What do we have projected well? So Bijan at the very top at 8K. I think I'm fine with that. Chase Brown, yeah, he's underpriced. It'll be interesting to see what people do with Ashton Jinty. At 5% owned and at 7K, I think he's overpriced. Like, I don't really want to play him for
I really don't want to play him. Like, yeah. I was hoping that you'd have a really good argument. I really don't want to play him.
I don't love the price tag. I like the projection. I like the ownership. I don't love the price tag. But at the same time, it's like he's $400 more than Chase Brown, who's going to be 6 times as highly owned. And I kind of think they're the same running back.
Like maybe I just get the Jahmyr Gibbs at $700, right?
Or you can play Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs is more expensive. Like that's a steep jump up from Chase Brown, right? $1,100. But I mean, you could absolutely make the argument that Alvin Kamara at 6,300, like that's fucking cheap for Alvin Kamara. 6,300. I guess he's old, but like 6,300 is really good price for Alvin Kamara. Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to go way like I don't think that people are going to play him at 12%. Like I think he's going to be more like 5% owned. I don't trust the ownership on him.
I hope not, because he's one of my favorite plays on the slate.
Well, saw
it like, what is this?
Yeah, have people talked about him? Like, has he been talked up?
I really haven't seen it. But like I said, I mean, sometimes the projections, I think, just kind of skew it. It's like, he projects by tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he's going to come in lower owned than that because, look at the rest of the ownerships here, right? I think people are much more likely, people are going to play a lot of Chase Brown, 25% or so, I think, maybe 30%. There's ownership on a Kane at 6,900.
I'm curious if it's all the people that play McCaffrey and swap if he doesn't play.
Is Jacobs the later game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If he gets ownership, that'll be how. I don't know. I don't see him coming in at 12% unless Christian McCaffrey gets ruled out, in which case he probably comes in at 12% or so. But I think that that's probably lower. What else do we got here? James Conner projects okay, but not really that well in terms of being 20% owned. So I don't love that. Let's see who looks like the best value here. Kamara, yeah, 6,300 is too cheap. Talk me off of Alvin Kamara. 6,300 is too cheap.
So I'm playing some Saints, man. I'm not stacking them. I'm not saying that, but I'm a big Kellen Moore believer, and just like we said, nobody knows anything. And so do I think that Kellen Moore can scheme Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara into some good situations? Maybe. And I think because they were so bad last year, they're both too cheap. So you're not going to find me talking you out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think 6,300. That's an insane play. I'm going to guess that he probably shows up in a lot of optimals and in a lot of contest zones. And then Trayvon Henderson, running back for New England. He projects well, but like I said before this, I'm really skeptical of rookies, really skeptical of guys stepping into roles in week 1. There's obviously going to be a lot of upside here too, though, right? I mean, but not as much for running backs. And I think that's worth talking about because the way that they price running backs now, it makes it so that if Trayvon Henderson has a good role, then we basically hope that he will be Chase Brown, right? Like he might end up 6,500 to 7K if he has a good role, right? So he's like $1,000 underpriced if we're playing him at 5,500. But like that's not near as good of a value that you get on a wide receiver, right? A wide receiver, if you nail a cheaper wide receiver, like a $4,500 wide receiver 2, who is stepping into a real role and ends up being like a real guy for a team, you could be getting upwards of like $2,500, $3,000 off of that wide receiver if you get him in week 1 with the right role. So I kind of feel like running backs now, with the way that it's priced, there's a lot less upside on taking shots on them early in the season, even if they get a good role. Because I don't like Trayvon Henderson's not going to be like Bijan Robinson priced. I don't think he will ever be like 8K because New England's not that good. So I don't think it's going to be scoring that much. So am I wrong to think that way? I think that there's not that much value on early season running backs like hitting Yahtzee.
I think if you're going to do it, it's with Bill at 4K.
Right.
It's like if he's the guy at 4K and gets priced up to 7K at some point, like that's the guy that I feel like you gamble on this week. Because like if he, like I said, is the guy and he gets 60% of the carries, and like I think that makes sense in a vacuum where like, oh, they just traded Brian Robinson all of a sudden. It's probably not for the 6th-round pick that's been on the roster for 4 years. Then like at 4K, that could be severely underpriced in my eyes. If he's like, let's say 6,500, 2 weeks from now. Yeah,
like if he turns into Chase Brown, you like got massive value in the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
Whereas if Trayvon Henderson turns into Chase Brown, it's like I probably could have made up that value somewhere else at wide receiver and plus some. So I think I'm just more inclined to just say I don't really like if Jaylen Warren at 5,200, that's a better play, I think, than Trayvon Henderson at like the same ownership.
So I tried to create my own projections, and I'm back testing them this year.
Yeah.
Dude, Jaylen Warren was like running back 8. And like it makes me feel a little better that this is like not super negative. Like J.K. Dobbins as well, by the way, who like, everyone's like, oh, loves R.J. Harvey right now. They just paid Dobbins a ton of money, and like he's probably going to get a lot of carries in week 1. Maybe it doesn't hold the whole year, but like he probably does.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, we've seen Jaylen Warren have a pretty decent role though, too, right? I mean, this is
paid him money. He got an extension last week.
This is much less for me a situation with like Trayvon Henderson or with R.J. Harvey is a great example. We've seen Jaylen Warren be productive. We've seen him be explosive. We have seen him be able to make things happen and like lock down a role. The only question marks that I have are how much does Pittsburgh fucking suck? Because they could really suck. They could be okay, but they could really suck.
And they're worse than the Jets were last year, though.
Right. So that's one that I was just going to make. On the other side of that, we did see Breece Hall be productive with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback on the Jets last year. And we never really got Breece Hall at 5,200. So I'm much more inclined, I think, to play Jaylen Warren than I am to play Trayvon Henderson. When I'm looking at these values, right? Like I could see myself having a Kamara and Warren pairing in one of my 3 like big boy lineups, right? Because there's just so much value there in terms of, again, if I think that Alvin Kamara is $1,000 underpriced, and I think that Jaylen Warren is like 1,500 underpriced, like if I think that Jaylen Warren can be Chase Brown, then I get, that's $2,400 in value that I get. That's excess value because I don't love the concept of playing what is basically max price Ashton Jinty. I don't love playing max priced Bijan Robinson. It's fine at 8K if I have the money, it's fine. But like I don't love the concept of it. So I think that what that'll come down to is like in stacks that are very expensive, I'm probably going to have quite a bit of Jaylen Warren. We just got a question here. Rate my draft, half PPR, 12-man, pick 7. So I'm going to do my best here to answer this. League is 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex. Okay, so 2 flex. That is going to push up wide receiver value. Picks in order: CD, Chase Brown, Bowers, JSN, Pollard, Caleb Johnson, Matthew Golden, Adunze, Croxy Merritt, Josh Downs, JJ McCarthy, Dylan Sampson, Justin Fields, Tampa Bay kicker, Packers D. Okay, so I think there's a lot of things that I like about this and a couple things that I don't. So first off, love Bowers, CD, and JSN. I think those are great priority picks. I think Pollard is a great pickup early, and you should trade him like after a spike week, because he's gonna have a great role this week, and then moving forward after that becomes a committee again. He's gonna go back down to earth a little bit. I think Odunze is actually a pretty good grab, assuming the Bears offense gets a little bit of a pickup, which I think they should. I think they should be better this year. Croxy Merritt, I don't know, man. He's a rookie. I'll defer to Hess after I'm done talking through these things. I love Josh Downs. I hate the offense that he's in, but I love Josh Downs. I think he's a really good wide receiver. The thing that I have a problem with here is having 2 subpar quarterbacks. And like maybe I think people really like JJ McCarthy in the season-long industry, and that's fine. But like I would have just picked one of those guys, right? And then maybe chosen another handcuff running back or like a wide receiver that I thought was cheap, something like that. And I'm usually fine with just streaming a quarterback, especially if I have just a punt quarterback. And I think that Justin Fields has a legit chance of being like pretty good this year. So otherwise, I think that's pretty good draft. I'd rate it like a B-. Hess, what do you think about this draft?
I really like picks 1 through 4. I think CD at 7 was probably like really good value.
Yeah.
My favorite 2 picks this year in like all of my like high stakes leagues were Chase Brown in the 2nd and Jaden Daniels in the 3rd. So like one of those. I actually agree. When I was looking at this, I was like, man, like I wish you would have taken another running back instead of JJ McCarthy, because like your running back depth like kind of sucks. You're like 1 injury away from like doom in the position. And so like when I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, if you could like grab a different running back, or instead of like Caleb Johnson getting like something more concrete where you like, have a good backup. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I think it's good. I mean, but like you're going to need a running back, because like once Tajay Spears comes back and Pollard's nothing, you have nothing. I mean, yeah, something could play out, but if it doesn't, you have nothing.
Yeah, I think you absolutely, like, after week 1, if Pollard crushes, I think you should try to trade him. Just hope that there's somebody who will buy him high and get rid of him. But yeah, overall, I think like B-. Maybe even a B. I think a B is fine. I like a lot of pieces there. And then this question: did you lose better? Just really like Caleb Williams, nice fingernails? No. So I paint my nails frequently. I don't usually paint them hot pink. I decided to go a little flashy for week 1. But you'll usually see me with my nails painted. I think that it's a nice thing to do. I care a lot about my hands. I get manicures relatively often. Just a nice little fun thing to do. But next week probably we'll have gold nails rather than pink. Gold is usually what I go with. Overall, nice draft. What do I think about Travis Etienne Jr.? Man, I don't know. He projects badly, but I think that's mostly just because I don't know what he's gonna do, right?
If you want to play Etienne, just play J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I mean, and he projects just about the same, right? He projects a little bit better. It's another one of these like mid 5K guys, right? Like it's fine. I think that if you have a thought that you would like to expose yourself to one of these kind of like question marks situations, I have no problem with it in week 1. We don't know what the split is going to be between Etienne and who the fuck, Tank Bigsby? Yeah. Like, we don't know, man. And I think that both are going to be low owned. So you flip your coin, have your fun, pick whoever you want to pick. I don't have a problem with that. Same thing with like, I don't know, like with the New England situation. People are much more likely to play Trayvon Henderson over Ramondre Stevenson. But like Ramondre Stevenson was good last year. Like he was like a borderline league winner last year, right? Like he was actually good. So at 5,400, he's going to be 1% owned.
I think there's a ton of guys in that range where you could actually play. I know I'm ahead of myself here, but 2 5K guys and a bunch of expensive receivers.
Yeah, you totally could. I'm fine with that. So there's a lot of guys here where we just don't know what the situation is going to be. Brian Robinson is kind of another guy at 5,800. I'm glad they priced him up a little bit going into this situation because there's plenty of reason to be like, all right, I'm just going to say that Brian Robinson Jr. is going to step right into this Christian McCaffrey role, or not the Christian McCaffrey role, but the San Francisco running back role, right? And just play $5,800 Brian Robinson and just hope that Christian McCaffrey is out. If we don't get the news before lock, I think we'll probably get the news before lock, unfortunately, so that'll kill a little bit of the edge. But there's nothing wrong with doing that. So I think running back, what it comes down to, like when we sort this by ownership, I don't mind a lot of this chalk. Like I'm good with Chase Brown. He projects really well. I'm okay with James Conner. I think he's kind of a double condom play, but whatever. Like if you feel like not, fornicating, then whatever. I think a Kane is.
I bet they're playing him because I think the Saints are going to be terrible and they can run the ball in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah. So there's a big leverage opportunity to just be like, I want to play some Saints. Like legitimately, Alvin Kamara for $200 more projects better. Is on the other side of that, he's going to be half the ownership. I think that Alvin Kamara makes for one of the best plays on the slate. I think I wrote that like 6 times last year because people just weren't playing Alvin Kamara because the Saints weren't very good, but his usage is still terrific. So if you want to play a Chase Brown or James Conner or a Kane or a Taylor, like I'm fine with that. These chalk plays, I don't have too big of a problem with that. But overall, I think that there is a lot of value in saying that you'd rather play an Alvin Kamara or you'd rather play, a Trayvon Henderson or you'd rather play a Jalen Pollard or like Tony Pollard at 5,700. He had one of the best roles in football last year when he was the only running back on the team. So he's probably legitimately $1,000 underpriced. He doesn't project like it because it's the Denver defense, but he's underpriced.
Especially if Cam Ward's good.
Yeah, especially if Cam Ward's good. If that offense actually clicks, 5,700 is a hell of a steal. So I think there's a lot of guys. I'm much more inclined to be playing below 6,500. I don't think I'm going to be playing much Bijan. I don't think I'm going to be playing much Jahmyr Gibbs. I won't play any Christian McCaffrey. I can tell you that like for sure because I don't trust that situation. I think the mid-range of running backs is really, really good this year. Any last thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm good with that. I mean, Tyron Tracy is just one I want to throw in that pit of like players. We didn't talk about it at all, but like he fits in that range for me of like maybe good. Yeah,
maybe good. I think that's totally fine. SF was lying about CMC all year last year too. Yeah, fuck that franchise, dude. Fuck that franchise. Legitimately, they should be fine. They should have draft picks taken away. Like it's an integrity issue. I think it's awful. All right. Wide receiver. Let's do the same thing. Let's sort by ownership first. Okay. Well, Egbuka, who's a rookie, and I don't even know who is that, Hess?
He was the number 1 receiver at Ohio State beforehand, and he's now wide receiver 2 for Tampa Bay.
Okay. So people are like, got to play the $4,600 wide receiver 2 for Tampa Bay. Are we sure that he'll be the wide receiver 2 for Tampa Bay?
I think he should be. Like Godwin's out and Jalen McMillan broke his neck. So like if it's not him, it's Tyler Johnson.
Poor guy breaking his neck.
He like fell on his head, dude. Like it was a gnarly injury.
That feels like something where it's like there's injuries that I just hate to fucking hear about.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
Gnarly.
Breaking your neck.
I would say like he probably is. He's a weird one for me because like I'm finding that I want to get to him in my like weird builds where like I can eat the chalk.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay away from him when I'm playing anything else remotely chalky.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And that's just a lesson to be learned for NFL DFS and DFS in general, right? Is if you have low ownership, go find a high ownership player. Like lower the volatility of your lineup a little bit. I love employing that tactic. So I think that I'm fine with that. But at 4,600, okay, hold on, because I have to see I have to see what else we got going on here for Tampa Bay.
I told you, it's grim, man. It's grim.
That's pretty fucking bad. But look. Would I rather play a $4,600 rookie wide receiver that I don't know if he's going to be the guy at ownership, or would I play a $3,100 Sterling Shepard who kind of sucks, right? Like, he's not good. I know he's not good, but like, he's gonna be 1 to 2% owned.
Like at 4,600 though, it's hard. Like if they made him like 55,
yeah,
it's like it's easy not to click. But at 4,600,
hold on.
Like he's almost free.
What? Okay, well, Sterling Shepard is actually free. We also have Cade Otton at 3,800.
Well, he's questionable. They think he's not going to play.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So like if he plays, I like Cade Otton, but like he's like questionable to doubtful. So actually, they have Payne Durham, who is like a tackle essentially.
He's really bad. Jesus Christ. Poor Tampa Bay. Everyone.
I do think though. So this is kind of like that game theory. I think Rashad White is maybe playable instead if you wanted to do that, because I think that like he operates in the short field, so they might put him in more for passing downs. I don't think it's a good play. I don't think it's a solid play, but like if you're like on that, like, man, this game's really going to blow up. Rashad White's like 5K or something like that. Again, you can like stick him into that group of players that we talked about and like.
Okay,
like I said, I've looked at this Ibuka thing, man. I'm like, I'm probably just matching the field.
Tell me why Mike Evans doesn't just get 16 targets.
He might.
Like if Cade Otton is dead, Jalen McMillan is dead, Chris Godwin is dead, and they've got a rookie wide receiver with a weird name going to be 20% owned. Tell me why I don't just play a lot of Mike Evans.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about having like at least one on like 50% of rosters, probably, even if I don't touch Tampa. It's one of those hard ones, man, where it's like 4,600. Like I wish he was just like at McMillan's price, 5,200, 55. Like,
I just gotta say, a rookie wide receiver named Emeka Egbuka being 26% owned and failing in week 1 is the most predictable thing on the planet. That is the easiest prediction I think I'll make all year. Like it's the quintessential, why did we play this guy in this position? Like this is the one that everybody looks back at and is just like, man, why the fuck did we do that?
I mean, what I'll say, I like Emeka Egbuka at 19 more than I like Tedder McMillan at 14.
Oh yeah, well, no, okay, hold on, but like they're the same play, kind of. They're kind of the same play, but like, man, rookies being really highly owned in week 1 is something that people will never just learn about. I think. Rookies are fine, but this is what it is, though, right? Like it's. I think that Scott Barrett over at Fantasy Points, he calls it best ball brain rot, where people are just so heavily like influenced by the drafts that they have made all year that they're just like, oh well, you know, I've done all this study and I have 500 fucking drafts where I took Egbuka and I have another 200 where I have McMillan, and it's like, oh man, like look, their prices for DFS are so attractive and it's going to push their ownership up, and all of a sudden we're going to flip the cards and Egbuka is going to be like 30% owned in the million.
What I'm willing to say is Parasol is probably a better play.
Yeah, of course he is.
Operating as the wide receiver 1 there.
Like we've seen Pearsall be good. We know that Brock Purdy is good, and like we've like Baker Mayfield is good, but we've also seen him fail us a lot. And Pearsall is going to be like 10% owned with Chris McCaffrey without a leg. So yeah, I'm much more inclined to play Ricky Pearsall. Like much more inclined to play Ricky Pearsall. Okay, I got tripped up real bad in the Igbuka ownership there.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like you said, what else do we have? It's like you have nothing, but it doesn't mean you have to do it, but you have nothing.
Jamar Chase is going to be chalk. I'm fine with that. He's a stud. He's 8,100. I'd rather play $8,100 Jamar Chase than I would $8,000 Bijan Robinson. Drake London 6,500. Totally fine with that. Brian Thomas 6,800. Totally fine with that. T Higgins good. McMillan. Talk to me about McMillan. Is he also as good as Igbuka, or is he what does he do? I don't know rookies. For those of you who are just
he's big, I don't slow. Think like Anquan Bolden. Really, it's like probably his ceiling.
Bryce Young needs a guy like that.
He's huge and he's good at going up to get it, but he's never really open. It's like he's open when he's covered.
No, that's not good. I don't like guys that can't separate. I'm not a big.
He's slow for sure.
So he's a tight end that plays wide receiver.
I don't know if he's that slow, but yeah, like I said, he's like one of those guys that you just throw it up and he beats his man. He jumps up and beats his man, and like that's it. Okay. Then he catches it and falls over.
I don't know if I want to pay $5,200 for that. But we'll see.
I really believe in that game environment, but like I'm probably not touching him as a one-off ever.
I hope that I also don't touch him as a one-off. We'll see, man. I haven't gotten to run the portfolio manager yet for an NFL main slate, but I did get some nice run for Showdown. So let's check in on some things here. Igbuka's a stud. Igbuka's a first-round pick and a lock. James about to eat his words. Niners activated Gage. Jennings going to sit. I'm not sure. We'll see on that situation. I don't think Jennings will sit. Maybe he will. But either way, we like Pearsall. See, other ownership here. I think
San Fran stack, man. I think Purdy, Pearsall, and Kittle, especially if CMC sits.
Oh yeah. And that's just great. Like in terms of if I think that you need to be putting together some contingencies around Brian Robinson Jr. and San Francisco stacks for sure. San Francisco stacks are too cheap, even with CMC active. So if he's out, I totally agree with that. Ownership really falls off a cliff. I did talk about ownership kind of bifurcating this year, I think, a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of ownership on like wide receivers that are expensive versus wide receivers that are not, or I mean, wide receivers that are expensive in terms of ownership versus wide receivers that are not, like high owned and low owned. I think that you'll probably see an even larger bifurcation here. I think that these guys will likely be, add some ownership here a bit and then drop some ownership here. But I think we're going to see a 10% difference between high owned wide receivers, the wide receivers that are actually in the pool versus the ones who are not. So I think that, after you get past about Mike Evans, I do think that we see Ricky Pearsall get steamed up a bit. That makes sense to me. I think probably we'll see. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is not going to be only 7% owned if people want to play Flacco. Travis Hunter is going to be higher owned than this, just point blank period. We just got confirmation. I think that it was whoever the fuck that guy is. Adam Schefter just said the Jacksonville Jaguars are planning for Travis Hunter to be an every down wide receiver and situational corner in Sunday's regular season opener versus Carolina Panthers. So fine, cool, fine. At 5K, he's not going to be 5% owned. So, we'll see what ownership says tomorrow, but I'm going to peg him for being in that group that is going to be 15+% owned, I think. At 5K, I just think that people aren't going to pass that up. I'm surprised, actually, that at the moment, he does not project in this same range of ownership as McMillan and Igbuka because of the price. So I think that he'll be higher owned. Is there anything ownership wise for wide receivers that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, there's a couple of plays I love, but I can wait for that.
Okay. Let's look at ownership and value here, or I mean, projection and value. Pretty straightforward in terms of salary to median, pretty linear. We like McMillan. I'm fine with McMillan here, especially over Igbuka. Like, it's only a 2 fantasy point difference, but like if we're looking at which one of those guys we want to play, I'd rather play McMillan. And like I said, like I think that he's a better fit for what Bryce Young needs in that offense anyway. because Bryce Young is always going to need, based on what his strengths are. I think he sucks. I don't think he has any strengths, but if he has a strength, it is looking at the field and being able to read through his progressions. He does read through his progressions. And if at the end of his progression, there's a safety blanket there in McMillan who can get him possession stuff, then I think that that's what he needs. He's never going to be somebody who is like a gunslinger. He's always going to be much more of a his ceiling is probably Tua, in my mind. So like that's what he'll be. He'll be accurate, and he needs somebody who's big that can do those kind of things, I think. Overall, like, projections look like projections. I think that JSN looks like a good value. I'm interested in Garrett Wilson at 6,300. That's a pretty good play at basically no ownership. Where's Neighbors? Neighbors at 8%.
Guys I was talking about that I love.
Yeah. I think Neighbors is a really good play at 7K. Especially if he's going to be one of those guys that I think gets that kind of like ownership drop in terms of that bifurcation. It makes a lot of sense to play him at 7K, especially if you're going to be playing Jaden Daniels at 7K, like that game environment. If you think that game actually does go well, and if you think that the Giants are actually going to be able to produce points, which getting away from Daniel Jones is huge for the Giants. It's huge. I don't think that Russell Wilson is bad. So I think that that's totally feasible to go with Malik Neighbors at 7K. In fact, I think that at 7K, he's probably about $500 underpriced for what I think his production can likely be this year. So good production there. Mike Evans, again, projects really, really well. I think he projects too low, actually. I'm probably going to boost him up a little bit because I do think that they just don't fucking have anyone else to throw to. So anyone in this kind of top range that you're looking at that you have an especially large heart on for?
Nico Collins, the Houston stacks that I talked about earlier. I mean, when you think about Nico, I mean, we've seen him get there. CJ Stroud having terrible games. Mm-hmm. So like Nico and Puka, both right there. So like we talked about earlier, two expensive guys. They both get there. They do really, really well. Like, yeah, I think it's a great game environment that no one's talked about as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with you. They both project really, really well. And they should both be low owned. I don't think Nico Collins is going to come in above 5% owned. I don't think that Puka Nacua is going to break 10%. I do really like that spot. And like we talked about with so many cheap running backs, I think that that's completely accessible. I have no problem with that. And CJ Stroud is cheap too, right?
Yeah, he's like 6K.
I mean, project. Yeah, I mean 6K. Yeah, we'll do a little hand build around that, I think, because I do really like that spot. All right, let's take a look at values here really quick. So yeah, Egbuka, sure, fine. McMillan, sure, fine. And then Pearsall. We do love Pearsall. Jerry Jeudy, like I said, I think that, if people are going to play Joe Flacco, Jerry Judy's going to get more ownership than that. But there's a lot of these guys that are like these 5K range that, there's not enough ownership on these guys. Calvin Ridley at 5K, if Cam Ward is good, at 5K, he's underpriced. Debo Samuel at 5,200, I know that he's like injury riddled, but if people are going to play Jaden Daniels, they should probably also be playing a little bit of Debo Samuel at 5,200, especially because with no Brian Robinson, you got to think that Debo Samuel is going to get some rushing work.
Also, I think he's a Cliff Kingsbury just guy. Like if I ever saw, he's like an old slow one, or older and slower than but Cliff Kingsbury has to love that.
Yeah. Really quick, you guys answer questions about a lineup? Sure. Yeah. Happy to answer questions about lineups. Let's see. Jalen Wall at 5,700. Fine with that. Who the fuck is Alec Manor? What?
The projected wide receiver 2 rookie for Tennessee.
Another wide receiver 2 rookie. All right. Cool. Let me take a guess. Dante Thornton Jr. is also a projected wide receiver 2 rookie.
Yep.
Correct. Cool. Okay. I'm not playing these guys. Mike Evans, good. JSN, good. Olave, 5,100. That's underpriced.
I like that one a lot.
He is absolutely a $6,500 wide receiver. Jacoby Myers at 5,100 is also underpriced. He crushed last year up to the point where he was like mid 6Ks. They brought in Amari Cooper, who then immediately fucking retired. And I think they get a QB upgrade too, right? Like that.
It's literally just Jacob Myers and Deontay Thornton. Again.
Like, I'm good with that. With
Thornton.
Some Jacoby Myers at 5,100. That feels like a really fun play. There's a lot of wide receivers to like that are established instead of these wide receiver 2 rookies that we just don't know anything about. So I'm probably not going to play too much Igbukah, man. I'm just probably not. He projects fine. But, like, if I have the choice to play Jacoby Myers at 5,100 or Igbukah, people are like, Emeka Igbukah could be anything. He could even be Jacoby Myers. And why would I not just fucking play Jacoby Myers? Right? Like, he pushed a 30% target share last year in a couple of games. He's actually good. Also, by the way, we didn't talk about Geno Smith, but kind of like Geno Smith. If I can get Jacoby Myers for 4% owned and Brock Bowers, who I assume is going to be like 9% owned, in a game where I think that New England actually is going to be able to put up some points. That seems like
really cheap too.
Yeah, that seems good. Probably. Is Stephon Diggs cheap? Is Stephon Diggs going to be able to play football? Yeah, he's 5,300. It's pretty cheap. Xavier Legette is cheaper than Igbukah.
Yeah, I've got another Panther to talk about on the next screen.
Oh yeah, we're going to tight end. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, look. Okay, so I'm probably this is no big surprise to people who have tuned into stuff that I watched before, but I'm probably going to be playing a running back that is high owned and wide receivers that are low owned. There are so many good low owned wide receivers on this slate that are cheap, that are just direct pivots off of people who want to play a rookie wide receiver too, who get Igbukah's going to be 30% owned tomorrow, and people are going to be fucking pissed about it when the cards flip. And I'm going to look at it and be like, y'all never learn. It's week 1. Don't play that guy.
I'll probably have like 15, 20%, but I play a lot of lineups, to be fair. If I was playing 3, I don't know that it'd be there.
Oh, yeah. No, and I will have 100 lineups tomorrow, and I will, like, it's going to be inevitable that I get some of them. Like, it will, but I'm going to be under the field now. Before we move on, let's try to hit these things. So fading a 30% rookie is just plus EV, even if it doesn't hit every time. Absolutely. McMillan has 4.8 speed. Is this true or false?
Okay, I mean, it might be true, but like that game tape don't lie. Is all I'm saying. He's slow.
Oh, game tape take. We got game tape watchers in the fucking chat today. All right.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I still kept because like I like to do a mock draft every year, and I like actually put it against like the top people and everything.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm only making.
I like the guy. If I could have got him in Washington, I would have done it. But like comparatively, just he's a big slow receiver, but that's always open because he goes up and gets it.
Yeah. If I have a Tampa Bay stack and not Igbukah, then who? Evans, yeah. Evans and look, I mean, we went over the options that we have, and I don't mind Sterling Shepard at 3,100 if I'm not playing Igbukah and I have a Tampa Bay stack. Like, I'm fine with that. Mike Evans plus Sterling Shepard, I think, feels better conceptually than Mike Evans and Igbukah. It's fine if you want to play a Tampa Bay stack. Like, I don't hate that. If you're gonna play Igbukah at 30%, you'd better fucking play him in a stack with Baker Mayfield, right? Like, do not play a one-off Igbukah.
But also, I think it's interesting that Igbukah is like 20 and Evans is 15, with Baker Mayfield sub 6.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So just play it in a stack. If you're going to play Igbukah, you have to play him with Baker Mayfield, I think. At least in large field. In a small field, do whatever the fuck you want. But like in large field, I'm not touching him as a one-off. Let's see. Already answered that. Okay. Who would you start at the flex between Calvin Ridley versus the Broncos or Jalen Warren versus the Jets half PPR? I can also play both and sit Zay Flowers, but I think Zay might be the safest of the 3. So we did actually talk about this a little bit earlier. We like Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren looks like a pretty decent play overall, and especially if you're comparing him against Calvin Ridley versus the Broncos. The Broncos will have a legit defense this year. It's their biggest strength, I think. Like, they're going to be a solid team overall, but I think overall they're going to be another top 5 defense. And Calvin Ridley, if we're talking about half PPR especially, I'm much more inclined to play Jalen Warren. What do you think, Hess?
In a vacuum, it's Jalen Warren. To me, it probably depends on the rest of your team. Like, if you have another player that, like, could go off for 25, 30, I play Jalen Warren because, like, you get 12.
Yeah.
If your whole team's like a bunch of safe players, I play Calvin Ridley anyways and hope for a long touchdown.
I think that's totally fair. That's absolutely fair. Panthers are fool's gold. Man, I don't – look, I'm the resident Panthers hater. I think Bryce Young is a practice squad QB. But it's week 1, and he had a full other offseason. And I do think that Dave Canales is actually a really good offensive coordinator. Like, I do think he's actually a really good offensive-minded coach.
Also, gone now, so it's very condensed.
Yeah. So I think that Bryce Young sucks, but maybe he doesn't suck as bad. Like, and they're cheap enough to where if he's serviceable, like if he is a NFL quality quarterback, they are cheap enough to where I think that you can get some fantasy goodness from them in week 1. And Bryce Young is going to be nothing owned. So if you're going to play McMillan, who's going to be 15% owned, pairing him with Bryce Young absolutely makes sense. And there's no reason why you couldn't do a really cheap stack with Bryce Young, McMillan, and Xavier Legette, or the tight end that we'll talk about once we get to tight ends, and like spend all of the money elsewhere. Like, I'm fine with that. That works. All right, let's move on to tight ends. We've been going for a while here. And this just always fucking happens first week. It would be worse if Pablo was here, by the way.
All three of us going back and forth the whole time.
We'd still be on fucking running backs if Pablo was here. All right. So let's get into ownership here first. Not much ownership overall, but David Njoku is going to be the chalk, and I think that is right. People have been talking up his games with Joe Flacco last year, and they're legit. Like, I think that he does project well, and he projects well for a reason. 4,700, you're not getting that big of a discount, but he should be a $5,500 tight end, I think. You could argue that he should even be like $6K. Like, if you think that he's an elite tight end, you could make that argument, I think. But at 4,700, I don't know, you get a decent discount. I don't think he's going to be more than about 15% owned, so I'm fine with it. And then after that, you don't really have ownership. There's no tight end that looks like they're going to be outwardly owned. You have some cheap guys that are getting some ownership. You have Trey McBride and George Kittle. You have Brock Bowers, who's getting no ownership, which I think is silly. But it is what it is. Do you have any ownership thoughts on tight end here?
Not really. No, I mean, there's none really. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Play who you want.
George Kittle, you and I both agree that I think George Kittle is probably the best play. Just overall at the position, I think that even with CMC active, they just don't. They just don't have guys to get targets. And last year he was a stud, even with CMC active, with no Deebo Samuel, right? Like, they use him in a very specific role when they don't have Deebo Samuel. So he's at 5,800. He's priced really, really attractively in the spot. The other studs here, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, like, fucking pick your poison, right? There's nothing that you can say about any of those three guys that will make me say, yeah, I don't want to play them over, a wide receiver that is like in that same range, right? If we look at the overall, I'm sure that these guys are going to project better than a lot of the 6K wide receivers. So I don't have a problem with any of these guys. And then you have a drop to David Njoku and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren's a rookie. People like him, but Daniel Jones will be throwing him the football.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones loves throwing within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So, I like Tyler Warren personally, especially at 3%. Is that 3%?
Yeah, he'll be low owned. Similar to the conversation that we had about running backs, like, you just don't get that much value if you nail a tight end early. You could argue that Tyler Warren should be the same price as George Kittle. I think that's fine. He's $1,000 underpriced, something like that. And he did, to your point, Daniel Jones did and does throw to his tight ends quite often. That was something that we were able to exploit last year. So I think 4,400, totally fine. He does project well, so it's not like that's anything that is crazy. Shig at 3,400 is interesting against the Tennessee defense. He does have upside.
Denver defense. He plays
Denver. Sorry. Yeah. And then
Jatavian Sanders
is
2,800. He's almost free, like we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And everyone keeps talking about how Carolina, Bryce Young likes his slot receivers or whatever. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think that Adam Thielen was like his only good player. So like it could be that he loves the slot. It could be that when you only have Adam Thielen, you throw it to the slot every time.
Right.
But I think that if you liked that game, that Jatavian Sanders he had a great camp. He had a pretty good end of the year last year where like he ended up with like 500 yards and 4 touchdowns or something like that. So like I feel like if you like that game and you like Bryce Young, that Jatavian Sanders at 2,900 is like kind of insane.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I can't. He's at 2,900. He's probably the same fucking play as McMillan. I don't know why he'd be like basically any different. So I'm fine with that. And he has. I think he produced a little bit last year.
Like towards the end of the season, he was okay. Nothing great, but like he looked really good in the whole offseason. Like which all that stuff.
He's gonna be nothing owned. So again, it's just one of those things where like, would you rather play the 15% owned rookie stepping into a role that we don't really understand with a bad quarterback, or would you rather play the $2,900 one and lower your investment as it would be, right? And there's also the world where you just play both of them. Like if you're doing a Bryce Young stack and you play him with McMillan and Jatavian Sanders, that's a fucking cheap stack. You have literally like unlimited money if that's your stack. So I'm fine with that. If you're going to play Bryce Young, I don't see any reason to like not play those two as a combo and just say, play the big fat boys who can't run and just like, hope they both fall into the end zone twice and Bryce Young scores 26 fantasy points and they both score 20 fantasy points and you're happy. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't think that things like that could happen. I did sort this by value. You have Chig as a pretty good value, 3,400. Brenton Strange, I think I'm fine with that. I'm probably going to have some Trevor Lawrence, even though I hate him. So $3,300 Brenton Strange makes things work.
I like Tucker Kraft as well.
Yeah,
we're just back to those games. The Green Bay Detroit game and the Houston Rams game are two games I think that are like potentially the best game of the slate that no one's talked about.
I will say I fucking hope that Tucker Kraft is not a thing again this year, and not because he was probably my biggest miss last year. I
do remember you and I getting into it about Tucker Kraft last year. Now that you say that, on the game he had like the 4 touchdown game.
Well, Kraft was by far the worst play on the slate that week. He just was. It doesn't matter that it worked out. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. He was the worst play on the slate that week. But I hope that he is not a thing again this year. And the reason I say that is specifically because if he is, then that coaching staff is just like tanking poor fucking what's his name's career quarterback.
Jordan Love.
Thank you, Jordan Love. They did him no favors last year. And one of the reasons why Tucker Kraft became a thing was because they basically said, okay, we're going to send one guy really deep. We're going to send 2 guys on a cross. And then we're just going to have Tucker Kraft run out in the flat. And every time it was like Jordan Love had to make the decision to throw the ball 45 yards into double coverage or throw into the flat to Tucker Kraft or a running back. And what the fuck is he going to do? Like every time he's going to throw into the flat to Tucker Kraft or a running back. He didn't have a choice. So if that's the same thing this year, then Tucker Kraft is probably $1,000 under price. I hope that it's not because I like Jordan Love and I think he's a good quarterback. And I would like to see him actually be a quarterback, but whatever. Arizona sucks against tight end. We don't know that. We have fucking no clue on that. We don't even know. We don't know none of these things, Mr. Hemi. Juwan Johnson, totally fine with that. Yeah. Hess, you like Saints a little bit this week, so
yeah,
3,300. It's fine. He's the same play, I think, as Brenton Strange. They all project for 7 fantasy points. Whatever tight end you would like to play, you're just hoping that they score a touchdown, or you're playing one of the studs and you hope that they score 2 touchdowns.
With my Saints love, I actually really like Trey McBride. I think like he's 1A and 1B with Kittle for me because like if you think the Saints score points and McBride gets 10 targets, looks pretty good.
Yeah, totally fine. Yeah, absolutely fine with McBride. I think I'm good with that. Speaking on that, one guy who we didn't talk about is Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know how to value him because he's a technical slot. He's like a techie route running guy, and those guys are good, but like I never know how to value them.
I kind of put him with like Drake London and Michael Pittman. That if you're in an environment that Marvin Harrison Jr. gets 10 targets, I like him. Which is like shootouts. In shootouts, those guys like get there. If you're not in a shootout, like I probably wouldn't touch him for the price that he sits at.
Yeah.
So like if you think this game shoots out and you play Kyler Murray, play Marvin Harrison.
I think that's very fair. I think it's a good call. Good call. I look at him as his ceiling being Devontae Adams, which obviously is very good, but I just don't know. That's such a hard ceiling to reach because it does require such technical brilliance. It's hard for me
to. I feel like we've seen Kyler just end up mediocre. It's like every year, it's like everyone's like, it's the Kyler year, but like I think he just is what he is at this point.
Everyone had hoped that he would be like the next Russell Wilson, and that was what his ceiling was. That's the prototype. Same reason why people drafted Tua, hoping he would be Russell Wilson. But like, he's just not. And that's because you shouldn't try to draft for exceptions. Russell Wilson is an incredible exception. Probably the only type of, one of the few archetypes, one of the few of his archetype that will be a Hall of Fame quarterback. All right. Let's close these things up because I want to go eat Chinese food. What are my top 3 do not do plays? Okay, so all of this is contextual. But one play that I think would be insane is Igbuka as a one-off. I am fine with him in a stack. I'll likely have some of him in a stack. There's no way that I'm touching that as one-off. I'm just not. There are too many good $4,500 to $5,500 plays on this slate that are not going to be 25% owned that I would rather play as one-offs. And one of like the very kind of rule of thumb rules is like you should not eat a bunch of ownership on your one-offs. Like if you have at wide receiver specifically, at running back, like clearly that's fine. Eat your ownership at running back. But I just think that Igbuka is going to be 25% owned tomorrow. And I just don't want that at a one-off. Another guy that I just don't think is going to be that useful is Bijan Robinson. At 8K, it's a lot of money to pay at a position where I think that there are a lot of guys who can get a facsimile of his production, whereas I can pay up for wide receivers, right? Like because there's expensive wide receivers that we want. And there are good game environments for expensive wide receivers. So I don't really want to pay more than about I want to say 6,500 for a running back. I think that I'm probably just not going to be above that range. And then the third play, and this is ownership dependent tomorrow. If Joe Flacco projects for like 10% owned, I'm not going there. That's the other one that I likely would just not be touching. And the main reason why is because I think that there are enough cheap offenses that we don't need the salary savings from Joe Flacco. If he's going to be highly owned. Now, if he's like 5% owned, I don't have a problem with it. But I think that if he projects for 10% owned tomorrow, which I think he might, that means that he's getting steamed up, which means he'll be more like 12 to 15% owned, and I just don't want to touch that. So those are my 3 warning flags as of right now. They're all contextual, but those are the 3 that I am lowest on right now. What about you, Hess?
So I'm actually really low on all the Falcons. It's actually like a really weird one where like I like Tampa in a vacuum because they're so concentrated and like everyone's like that's like the best game. I kind of don't want to play any of the Falcons. I kind of feel like I want to run Tampa stacks naked, like not naked, but like Baker, Igbuka, Evans, no run back, like we talked about earlier. I am of the opinion that you should never play a chalky wide receiver Nate or like by itself. That's like just terrible as a whole. I don't care who it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have like don't plays. I think you can play anybody in the right situation. I mean, I will say like if you really want to play Joe Flacco and you think really, really what like that they're going to do awesome, play Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so let's do a quick hand build lineup here because I have some thoughts here really quick before we go off. I just want to see what a really cheap Panther stack looks like. So I'm going to quickly use the quick fill here. I'm going to go with a 3-man. I'm going to go QB, wide receiver, tight end, and we're going to fill this in. Hey, baby.
Hey, friends.
How you doing?
Great.
You're great.
Happy football season.
Happy football season. Margaret's not stoked that I have my content schedule like
That's life.
it is life. That's true. All right, so we're going to remove Hubbard here because I just don't want him in this lineup. And then we're going to go find, let's see, team filters. Let's go ahead and go with Carolina here. And we'll go with Jatavion Sanders. So, okay. We have $6,000 remaining per person.
It's crazy.
That's a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of money. Okay, so let's go ahead and get off Carolina stacks here. And let's go first. Let's go ahead and do a defense. I don't know what defense to go here. Do you?
I really like the Broncos, man. The best defense in football, playing a rookie quarterback. I know they're 3,800, but it's like 3,800, and they're 5% owned. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, they're 3,800, and we have the money. So, like, let's just go ahead. Yeah, we still have $6,400 remaining. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead now and say, all right, some running backs that we like. Let's go ahead and just take a look at running backs here. I mean, this is going to be lower owned, so I think that it's fine to go with Chase Brown and Alvin Kamara. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
I think that's good. So we got $6,500 per player. We are going to need one cheaper option. So let's go ahead and go up here. We're going to take this off. Let's see.
I kind of really like the Debo Neighbors duo.
Like Debo?
He's like 5,200. Like, if you think Neighbors and Russ play well at all,
yeah.
Like, Debo's probably wide receiver 1, at least this week, while Terry's coming back from sitting the whole time.
I'm fine with Debo. We have him projected as a pretty good value. He's 5,200. Okay, so let's go ahead and go with that. Oops, where'd he go? Oh. Debo, add that. That's good. We got 7,100. You wanted to do Neighbors?
Yeah, I'd love to add Neighbors in there. I said it's really funny, man. I started off talking like shit on the Washington team. I think it's throughout this whole thing became like probably what I'll do the most of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Washington stacks.
They look like good spots. Good spots. All right, and then we got 7,300 here. So, I mean, we could go McCaffrey.
Josh Jacobs would fit there then. Same kind of play, I guess, if you like don't want McCaffrey.
Yeah. You go Jonty.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving. Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of good options. I'm like, okay, with Jonathan Taylor, I think is fine.
Yeah, I'm not sold on many. Oh, yeah, Evans. That's who we want. Yep.
You passed me.
That's right. I'll just go down here. Yeah, there you go. That's a lineup right there. That's sick. I mean, you have so much money. Like, you get Neighbors, you get Mike Evans, you get 2 running backs in the mid 6K range, and you get Debo Samuel. Like, you have so much money there. Love that. Oh yeah, we could have gone with Puka. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Nico.
So,
I think we could have got both there.
Yeah, we could have gone with Nico there as well. Yeah. Or no, Nico's 7,400. We had 7,300. Okay. So this is not too bad. Go and save that really quick. That's a pretty good one. Clear it. And then you want to do a Houston stack, right?
I'd actually love to see what the Washington stack looks like.
You want to see Washington? All right.
Because, like, I think with all the value and stuff we found, I think this is actually, like, really sick.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work because I'm only on Tampa Bay. Right. Okay, that'll work. So we have Jaden, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel. We got plenty of money to do it. This one we're probably going to need some cheaper running backs. Right. So are we good with Jalen Warren?
Yeah.
Let's go Jalen Warren like that. And then who else do you want to add to this one? Running back.
I think maybe we come back to that because, like, I'd love to end up at Kamara. Honestly, I'd rather go cheaper receivers and and see if we can get Kamara there, or Chase Brown. I'm fine with both.
Let's just lock in Chase Brown here, just because he's we have the ownership to spend. Let's go ahead and now go to defense. So for this one, probably let's go with Colts defense because it projects well as 2,800.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, 5,600. We want neighbors in this one, right? For a bring back, since you're into that stuff.
I mean, I'm cool with Tracy too, but if you're doing this, you probably play neighbors.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So 5K for tight end and utility. Let's go grab tight end here.
I know this probably sounds crazy, but like I don't even care about Sanders here. I'm not saying you do it, but like if you have like a player you really want to pay up for, I think that's the right choice. By the way, Njoku.
Yeah, it's probably.
I was just saying that like as like a side thought, like if there's a player you really wanted that's 2K more and you went Sanders here, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Njoku, and then we got 5,300. 5,300, we could do McMillan if we wanted to eat more ownership, but I don't think that we do. We're definitely not going to do a 2 tight end build here. Well, actually, wait. Could we do 2 tight end build at 5,300? No, we couldn't.
It's 1,000.
No. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah, McMillan is going to be the best option. Debo, we already have.
Debo.
Let's see.
Pearsall. Can we afford him, or is he 55?
No, Pearsall is 4,500, I think.
No, he's in the 5s.
Oh, is he? No, he's not.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was like low 5. You're right.
4,500.
You're right.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Good with that. Leaves us 800. We could get up from defense if we wanted to. But overall, I think this is a pretty good lineup overall too, right?
You could also even get the 6K from Warren if you wanted to. If there's a guy you love in that range that's not Jalen Warren, for the people talking or that here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's solid. I think that's like really interesting because I think, like you said, we're missing like all the like truly elite offenses. I think we literally just have Cincinnati and Washington. And so like, if you think the Giants could make it a game, like Washington, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your stance that you think that the Giants are going to make it a game, like I almost think that you would take a shot on their QB. Is it Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah, I like that. Like that was my preferred take on this game before like the models and everything today.
Yeah,
was that like if you wanted to play Jaden, just trail bet it and play Russell Wilson.
Because I think that this is probably like the right way to do it, but I think that you could also absolutely do Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
and then you have a lot more money to get up from, if you wanted to go from Debo Samuel up to a stud wide receiver, you could do that.
Yeah.
So interesting way to build. I think there's a lot of really interesting builds this week.
But yeah, that using game, like I said, that probably is my big stand for the week. So I'm gonna play a ton of CJ Stroud.
We didn't even take a look at the stacks range of outcomes. But yeah, we talked about everything. Cincinnati, then Washington, then Tampa Bay, then Jacksonville. Yeah, Jacksonville just looks really good for 1,700. This Washington stack with Debo Samuel and Zach Ertz, 16-3.
I don't think I would have played Terry.
This is very attractive.
Yep, I like that too.
That's really, really nice.
Yeah, like I said, it's so weird, man, because when I went to like do all my builds, like I really, like I said, I probably have some Tampa Bay, but like I don't like Atlanta really in any way. I think there's so many good games and there's no ownership, like none.
Yeah.
I think Seattle looks good because they're just as concentrated. It's just JSN and Cooper Kupp. They don't have anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Darnold, we know that he can support a wide receiver 1.
So like Seattle and San Fran, it's like it might not blow up the same, but like which players are going to be a part of it if it does. It's like so concentrated that like that game it looks nice even if it doesn't have the same total.
Absolutely agree. All right, closing thoughts, Mr. Hess.
Yeah, I think for me it's just like play whatever you want. It's like I know that's like the blender thing, but like on this week 1, there's just so much that like looks really good. Like play whatever you want except Emeka Egbuka and a one-off.
Yeah, that's right. We agree with that. All right, cool. Well, that's pretty much it. If you have not gotten a subscription to the site, you should get a subscription to the site. It is $40 a month for access to the entire site. It's best value in the entire industry, bar none. I will compare my models and projections with anyone else. I do not care. It's best value in the industry. If you'd like to get yearly, it's $225 up until the end of February. Also a good deal. About 10, or you got a free month basically with that one. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the Discord. Obviously, people are making fun of me right now for the way that I pronounced Jamar Chase. I did not say Jameer Chase, by the way. Like, that's just not true. I did not say Jameer Chase. I said Jamar Chase.
If you did, I missed it.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss it because I didn't. And these people are fucking slandering my name over here. Oh, and Hess saying Rashad White, phonetic bandy. Yeah, they're fucking murdering us in the Discord over here.
Is it not Rashad? It's got two A's, right?
Who the fuck cares? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyway, go join the Discord. We have fun in the Discord. I have to go fix the portfolio manager, which is breaking on CSV upload right now. It's a really easy fix. But if you've not used portfolio manager, you should do that too. There are really good videos that I put out on that. Overall, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good week. If you have questions, come ask me. Thank you, Hess, for joining me. Thank you, everybody else, for hanging out with us. And hopefully one of us wins multiple millions of dollars tomorrow. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the support, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good night. Appreciate it, Jay.